Hello, everybody, and welcome back to ZakIsCinema. Yes, welcome back, guys. We are so happy to have you here together here. Yes, if you find yourself just wandering around in the ether of the everyday life that is your everyday life, and just struggling to find someone to talk to about these weird public domain movies, and you find yourself continuing to go see them, even though the majority, I would say at least like 95% of them have been absolute garbage, and you try to talk to someone about how they're turning your favorite childhood story or cartoon or TV show into this horror movie schlocky slasher, and you tell someone that, and they're like, I've never even heard of that. I didn't even know that was a thing. And you're like, yeah, it's a thing. People have been doing it, and I paid money to go see them. And then they look at you very disappointed, probably very, very, very similar to how your father looked at you growing up. And it's okay, because you check it out and you come talk to ZakIsCinema about it. So yes, trust me, I'm watching these as well. So welcome. Yes, today we're going to be doing another movie review, so let's just jump right into it here. Today we're going to be reviewing and discussing the new movie called Screamboat, which came out in 2025. So for Screamboat, for director, we got Stephen Lamorte. I'll go with Lamorte there. For writers, we got Matthew Garcia Dunn, and our director as well, Stephen Lamorte. I'm sticking with Lamorte here. Starring in Screamboat, we got David Howard Thornton, Allison Patel, and Amy Schumacher. So the plot for Screamboat follows the story of a late-night boat ride that turns into a desperate fight for survival in New York City when a mischievous mouse becomes a monstrous reality. So as we hop into the review for Screamboat, I feel like I have maybe a little bit different of opinion on these public domain movies, where ZakIsCinema doesn't really mind people taking advantage of these public domain characters, or where these characters enter public domains and then turning them into these lower budget slasher movies. I feel like I see it more as an issue on the law itself rather than the people taking advantage of it and trying to do something with it. I feel like my biggest gripe with these movies so far is just the wasted potential and the cash grab nature that most of these directors, writers, and studios have tried to utilize these for. So they're not leaning into the tone that they should be going for. They're not very high quality, and it's disappointing because I feel like you could really do a lot with this, and I feel like so far there's a lot of untapped potential here. So as I was getting ready here to see Screamboat, I was having a little bit higher hopes for this movie, and I was honestly, if I'm being honest with my lovely fans here, I was kind of looking forward to it, because not only did it star Art the Clown himself as Steamboat Willie, we got David Howard Thornton in this movie, but the producers of this movie were the guys that helped produce and work on some of the Terrifier movies as well. Knowing that, I was really hoping you would get that similar vibe and tone of the Terrifier movies, hopefully have some of that practical gore and some of the quality in those movies as well. I was hoping it would kind of translate over to this public domain slasher movie here. So I was looking forward to it, but again, a little hesitant, because I feel like I was one of 4 or 5 people that actually sat down and saw I Heart Mickey from earlier this year, and I'm like, oh my god, they're doing another Mickey Mouse or Steamboat Willie movie here. So I was just going in, I'm like, I have a little bit of hope here. All it has to do is be better than I Heart Mickey here. So I was crossing my fingers, and I went to check it out here. So yeah, let's jump into the review section here, starting with the positives, or the things that I just really enjoyed about this movie. First, you got to give some praise here to our boy again, David Howard Thornton, Art the Clown himself. I think he was incredible in this movie and really just brought that fun energy that a movie like this really needed. I think he's a lot of fun, and again, his personality fits these roles so well. I feel like he has such a special talent of bringing so much life and energy into a character where the character has absolutely zero dialogue. I can't imagine how difficult that must be, but just like with Art the Clown, he's never said a word, yet he has this such fun, lively personality that you feel like you kind of know him a little bit. And I think that translates well over here to Screamboat with Steamboat Willie here and his performance. He's a lot of fun, a lot of energy here, and again, just gives Steamboat Willie a lot of personality, even though he doesn't say a word. So that's a huge positive there. And I love the look of Steamboat Willie here in Screamboat. Like, a lot of the physical comedy works because it almost reminds me of like how people describe rodents in New York City. Like, if they're telling a story, or if you got someone that's never been to New York City and it's just only heard stories about the crazy rats and rodent problem New York City has, they describe them as these almost beast-like gremlin creatures. And I feel like this movie heavily leans into that type of look for Steamboat Willie here. He almost looks like a mix of like a rotting, possessed mascot almost, and just this like gnarly looking rodent thing that is just so over the top. It was honestly just so funny anytime he was on screen here. Maybe slight-ish spoilers because I don't remember this from the trailer or the marketing. Steamboat Willie in here is super tiny. I would say he's about like double the size of a gremlin. Like, same kind of size as gremlin, just like a little bit taller than a gremlin, but like 25% of the average height of a human. Like, he is tiny, and it almost threw me off at first. I'm like, holy shit. I guess from the marketing or the trailer, unless I just was misremembering, I thought he was going to be gigantic, but he's super tiny. But I think that works so well because it's just so goofy, so over the top when he's killing and massacring these people, and he's this tiny yet gnarly, big looking rodent thing, but still within that size of a rodent. Like, he looks like a gremlin that was literally possessed by Satan himself, and the size, I think, of him leads to a lot of great physical comedy gags, and just it fits the tone for this movie, and I cannot praise that enough. Because leading into my next positive here, I think the biggest praise I can give this movie here is it's a public domain slasher horror movie that finally, they did it. They finally got the tone correct. They finally did it. It filled ZakIsCinema's heart with so much joy that I don't think ZakIsCinema has felt since early Christmas when he still believed in Santa. Like, that type of childhood joy I was filled with here. You can tell what this movie is going to be and the tone of it from the very first scene. For example, they got Steamboat Willie here gnawing on this dude's face, like rips his nose off and like throws it on the floor. Then one of the other characters is running away from Steamboat Willie here and like slips and wipes out on the nose and leftover skin on the floor. Absolutely hilarious physical comedy here, and it just right away introduces you to the tone and the non-serious vibe that this movie is gonna go with. And as soon as I saw that, I kind of just relaxed a little bit in my seat, and I'm like, holy shit. They finally did it. They realized what they had here. I was like a proud father, honestly. That's how it felt here, because as soon as that happened, I knew I'd be in for a fun time at the movies, and it just felt even better after I have sat through pretty much all of these public domain movies. I don't think I've missed a single one. Like we talked about in the beginning, they've missed the mark, a lot of wasted potential here, but not this movie. It finally leans into it, so if you've been waiting for a public domain movie to actually use the tone that it should and have that fun with a childhood story with a horror twist, but still keep keeping that childhood fun energy from some of these shows and cartoons, we have finally got it here. Okay? So thank you. Thank you. Speaking of its fun premise, I feel like you get a ton of gore, blood, and carnage. And one of ZakIsCinema's absolute favorite things is it's all done practical. I think there's maybe some CGI. There's some CGI effects with a scene I won't give away, but again, it's so heavily over-the-top CGI that it leans into the tone that I absolutely loved. But the gore, the violence in here is all done practical, and you get a ton of it steadily throughout the movie, which I really enjoyed as well. It's not front loaded, it's not back loaded. You definitely get consistency all throughout here. And again, I really appreciate how at least each kill was different. It's not the most creative thing, it's not Terrifier levels, it's not reinventing the wheel or the genre at all, but at least here you get different kills steadily throughout, and you can actually tell these people put time and effort into this movie, which I was really excited and happy to see here. Speaking of the gore and the violence and the carnage here, there's a couple gnarly scenes that I won't spoil, but if you've seen it, there's one scene with a police officer and this woman from the ferry here. They go into a room, and if you've seen the movie, hopefully you know what I'm talking about, but it's truly one of the most just disturbing and just like crazy scenes that I've ever seen in a movie. It's so disturbing that I'm like, holy shit, they can really do that. I mean, I know it's not rated here, so I'm sure that helped, but I'm like, I don't want to spoil it, but I'm like, oh my God. Like, it was one of those scenes where I was like that. Like, my mouth was actually open for a second, and I'm like, oh my God. And I think the most impressive thing with that scene is it's so just disturbing and over the top, but still keeps that same tone and never once takes itself seriously. Like, I was in shock, and then about half a second later, I was laughing at the scene as well. So they stick with that fun tone, and it sticks with that fun tone all throughout the kills here as well. And lastly here, I really enjoyed the setting and how the entire movie takes place on the Staten Island ferry. I think it's a very unique, isolated setting that works well for a slasher movie, and I think this movie utilizes it well because the island ferry here attracts some of the weirdest, crazy people from New York City, so it's just fun seeing a whole boat full of wacky, over-the-top characters all in one setting waiting to get massacred. So I think, again, it adds to the tone pretty well here. It's a fun setting, and you get a bunch of fun, just crazy characters that are entertaining, at least very over the top, and you're excited to see them get killed here. Has some of ZakIsCinema's favorite things for a slasher here. But yes, let's jump into the negatives, or just the things that I didn't enjoy too much about this movie. Is first, I'll say there's no real big, huge negatives. I will say that this is one of those movies, though, that I could see someone watching and saying, that was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I get it. I'd have no argument. I'd have no pushback on that. I think for me, it's just such a fun, schlocky movie that finally leaned into that tone I was looking for. And I love these types of slasher movies. They're a big comfort movie for me. And this is definitely one of them that's adding to my comfort horror movie list here. So throwing that out there, because I feel like someone else might see this and have a whole list of negatives that I'd be like, yeah, they're all in here. But as far as ZakIsCinema's negatives here, is first, unfortunately, our main characters is about a group of 3-4 main characters, but especially our final girl character with the character of Selena, they really just don't have any personality or anything that sticks out or anything that makes me care about them or add any sort of entertainment value here. They're just kind of boring stock image characters, which I usually don't mind in a movie like this. However, they all stick out like sore thumbs when you're surrounded by the Staten Island ferry full of wacky, over-the-top characters coming from New York City that are hamming it up a bit, just playing, stereotypes of random New Yorkers, I guess. So they stand out here, and I'm like, I'm surprised they just didn't like give us more with our main characters here, especially with how much they stick out with not really having all too much and just kind of being flat and a little boring. Again, didn't take away too much of my enjoyment from the movie because I'm like, okay, like I'm not here for characters, but I think it would have been nice if they put some more detail into our main characters that we're going to be following the entire time here. Next here, I think some of the writing is horrible, and again, in a schlocky horror movie, I wouldn't normally point this out, but there are a couple scenes here with our girl Selena here, unfortunately. Like, for example, she, like, in the beginning of the movie, goes into the bathroom here, and then one of the EMT workers comes in and is like, oh, hey, I think you dropped your sketchbook, and she gets it, and she's like, yeah, I'm an artist, I moved here, but I don't want this sketchbook, I think I should just give up, I think I'm gonna move back to my hometown. And I'm like, oh my god, like you just like, it's just one of those characters that just says what she's thinking but says it so the audience has some sort of character development there, but it's not really character development, it's just a character stating how they're feeling, stating what they're thinking. Again, with a movie like this, it doesn't bother me too much, but it's just some of those scenes are just even too much to the point where I'm like, all right, I think this needed another pass on the script here. Like, I think maybe you could have gone with another take here. So some iffy like writing scenes where characters are just kind of lore dumping. And next here, the pacing unfortunately struggles a little bit, especially in the back half where it starts to feel slightly repetitive. With a slasher like this, obviously there's not a huge overarching plot or huge story details, but I think you definitely feel that here where it kind of gets repetitive because they're still on the boat the entire movie and they're kind of just trying to escape Steamboat Willie here. So it's like, okay, in the back half, you kind of feel it. And I think it's sitting at around an hour and 43 minutes. So I don't know, I think if you chopped off a good 15 minutes, even maybe 20, and made it like right at 1 hour and 25 minutes, I think this would have gone up like a whole half star, maybe even a full star for me, because I think it just would have been tighter and fit for the story that they had here. Because it towards the end, you start to, it's still fun, it's still entertaining here, and I had a good time, but you definitely feel it here and definitely feel and see the scenes where they definitely could have trimmed it up a little bit neater. And lastly here, little nitpick, but there's a third act small character twist in their motivation that came out of absolutely nowhere. It added absolutely nothing, and it literally ended 30 seconds later and is never addressed again, which is disappointing because again, no spoilers, but I think the plot point or that tiny little twist that they had there could have been interesting if it impacted other characters on the boat and maybe culminated to leading to something a little bit bigger in the third act, but they do nothing with it, and it just feels like, again, like you could have trimmed that out and the movie would have been the same and you would have had a tighter run time here. So a little weird, and I think kind of getting back to my last point there of maybe a couple more passes on the script I think would have maybe fixed that. But overall here, I am honestly so happy with this movie and so happy I went and checked it out. It's a public domain movie that finally recognizes the potential that they had with a childhood character and leans into that schlocky, over-the-top tone that all these movies should have been doing from the very start. For my rating for this movie is I have it as I would pay full price for this movie. Hear me out here. If they had a cool like limited edition steelbook or a cool limited edition physical copy. However, if they don't decide to do something like that, I'd like to buy it just because I do love these types of movies, and I'm so happy to see that this public domain movie finally got it right here, that I think made me like it a little bit more compared to if maybe all the other movies were doing this from the start. But I would like to buy it here, but I'd probably look at it for a discount. I wouldn't want to pay full price for this if it wasn't like anything like limited or special here, but I want to own it because it's definitely a movie I'm going to be rewatching again. you guys have my thoughts here on the new movie Screamboat. Please let me know down below. I'm curious if maybe I'm loving this way more than most people, or if most people are just kind of excited and feeling very similar to how I am. Let me know what you thought of Screamboat. Let me know what you thought about all the other public domain movies here with the Twisted Childhood universe. Did you check out I Heart Willie? Let me know what you'd like to see in the future with these public domain movies, and maybe your opinion on them moving forward here. But thanks again so much. I appreciate anybody watching my videos, so thanks again. And yeah, look forward to more ZakIsCinema coming very soon.